Hi, everybody. Welcome to Infinite Horizon. Uh, I don't know what any of that was. I looked down and I looked back up, and there was just a whole bunch of waving arms. So I don't know what that was. Anyway, hi,
Keeping
everybody.
you on your toes.
It's not quite accomplishing that, but uh, so yeah. Welcome to tonight's episode of Infinite Horizon. We're excited to get started. It's gonna be an episode. Uh, um, what am I? Oh, first of all, before we actually get started with our announcements, I want to first and foremost, I'm sure John did this on Dreamwell Chronicles the other day. I missed like the very first like little bit of it, but I would like to first say welcome and congratulations to our new moderator, Amethyst Cat Lady. Hello.
Yay,
Uh,
thank
Yeah.
you.
we have
Ooh,
now,
that's so exciting.
yeah, we've bestowed another sword to one of our moderators. Um, so thank you so much, Amethyst Cat Lady. Um, yeah, Henry, I believe you have some things you'd like to say today.
Oh, would I ever? Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know about you, but it's been a long day for me, and I'm very happy to be in this place now. All right, let's get started then. Uh, there's a lot of nice ways to support us and to keep in touch with us. You can subscribe right here on Twitch, where we are affiliates. We have a little coffee where you can drop a couple bucks if you feel so inclined. We got a Patreon. There's new stuff on it. I won't go too much into detail about it right now, but check it out if you like. We have what you might call a YouTube channel where you can see uploads of this very show, Infinite Horizon, um, as videos. You can also listen to it in podcast form on Anchor. I'm putting these links in chat too, just in case, just to be clear. We have and from Anchor it's on a bunch of different podcast platforms.
It's the same as always. iTunes still hates me.
Yeah, except iTunes, unfortunately. We have a Discord um, uh, where we share when we stream our own personal projects. You can share your own personal projects. Recently, in fact, I think it was at 4:17 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. A person named Lemon Twist posted a bunch of fan art in the
Yeah. Oh
Discord
God, they're
Yay!
so
in
good.
Oh
the
my
gallery
god.
channel. Yeah, for Infinite Horizon made me so happy. It was a fantastic thing to wake up to. So go give that a look. I think we also retweeted it on the Rule of Lore Twitter. It's
Hmm.
So
it's
good.
of these four characters, so it's sort of before everything. And I love it. I love the picture of Olem so much, I gotta say. So
Yeah,
Lemon Twist, if you're here, I don't know if he's a VOD squad person or catches us live, but thank you so much for that.
I think they're still catching up. I think
Oh,
I think, but I'm not sure.
okay.
I
Well,
actually don't
when you
know.
get here, anyway, thank you so much for doing that. That made me very happy.
Yeah.
We got a merch store too, and you can slap that panel down
Oh,
there. And
hey, guess what? We have a command for that now because I finally got my shit together.
oh, good.
Yay.
Hell yeah.
Here we go. I got it. Boom. There it is.
I'm gonna take this time to also try out the command I made. Let me see if it works.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's just this is just a summary of our yeah. This is just the Cypher system sentences for each of the player characters in Infinite Horizon. Just you know, so you know
Yeah.
if you want.
Cool. All right. Um. Well, unless there is anything else, are we ready? Everybody, we're good.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's get into tonight's episode of Infinite Horizon.
Some will say this is the end. We're surrounded, but we won't give in. No. Who will save us? Who will save us? Sometimes you gotta let go. Leave it up to the hero. Who will save us? Who will save us? When the truth's in the shadows.
And we're back. Hello, everybody. All right, now I am going to switch away from chat. So, hello, everybody, but also goodbye, everybody. I'm gonna move to over here. Okay, so, previously on Infinite Horizon, our heroes, went in search of this missing weapons shipment that they had agreed to track down either the weapon shipment itself or information on its disappearance. And in the process, found themselves in contact with apparently a resistance movement in the Zolaterra system. Upon arriving on their ship, sort of out of nowhere, and after some sort of tense preliminary conversations, wherein the crew debated whether or not they should tell the truth or just sort of sneak in. Eventually, they just settled on more or less the truth. They had a conversation with the apparent leader of these resistance fighters, who basically made a deal with them for information on this weapons shipment in exchange for the use of the crew's mechanic, one Bina Oba. So during the course of this, the crew was led to the engineering deck, and Bina sort of set to work while the leader of this resistance movement, a human named Win, sort of explained a little bit to the crew what was going on, which was that the Baron of Zoloterra had recently discovered on the fourth planet of the system a veritable windfall of ores to be mined, at which point one Baron Peak, he had taken over the small settlement on Zoloterra, and had basically become its unilateral leader, and started carting away dissenters to the mines on the newly discovered rich world, to basically as a forced labor force. And the resistance movement was just sort of a ragtag group that came in to, well, do their best to fight. There was a bit of conversation amongst the crew as they debated what they were going to do, if they were going to help or anything like that. Eventually, the crew of the Awakener decided that they were going to step in, but not before Bina worked her mechanics magic and brought a difficulty 7 task down to difficulty 2 without using any powers of any kind, and repaired their life support systems, probably even saving them from some sort of catastrophic meltdown, which would have destroyed the entire cruiser. And that success seemed to have gained at least the current trust of Win, who at which point asked the crew of the Awakener outright for their help, and when the crew agreed to listen, Win began leading them elsewhere on the ship, and I believe that is where we left off. Did I miss anything important?
No, I think, yeah.
Okay.
The
Nailed
ship
it.
we were looking for is here, and the people are safe.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
true.
Wynn said that they'll be allowed to leave as soon as this place mobilizes again.
Right. Okay. So, as we begin, you are all following Wynn through the corridors of this vessel, and the more you walk through it, the more it becomes obvious that this ship was probably when the resistance picked it up, it was probably like days from being mothballed. It is just like it is not in good condition. This ship was probably in poor repair even before the resistance got their hands on it.
Ina's making mental notes.
Oh yeah, it's pretty rough. Like there are panels missing from the walls in places where you can see like the bulkhead is exposed, leaving like showing where you can see some of like the wiring and circuitry beneath. There are some, as you're walking through the corridors, you see some that are just outright inaccessible because they have like debris through them. There's one corridor that you pass that it's not so much a corridor. It's more of like a room that as you're walking past it, the door just sort of automatically opens as you're walking past, and inside you can see a bunch of people, but beyond them you can actually see straight out into outer space. Straight out into space, because there is a huge hull breach that is currently blocked only by the ship's containment fields. It is a mess. And you make your way through the ship. You can see signs of disrepair and outright destruction of this vessel. And worse still, everywhere you go, there are signs, clear and obvious signs, that this vessel is woefully undercrewed. They probably only, calling what they have here a skeleton crew for a vessel of this size would be generous. But as you make your way through the vessel, eventually wind stops at the entrance to one room and sort of stands out of the way to allow you entry. As you step inside, you can see that it is what was probably once officers' quarters. And as you make your way inside, it's pretty poorly furnished, but it looks practical for the sake of this. It looks like it has been sort of refurbished to be something of a planning room. You can see like the lounge table in the center has been cleared, and instead on it you can see a bunch of what appear to be holographic displays of maps of the system, of the various worlds in the system, and you can see several charts as well that look like they might be reports of patrol routes, but this is just sort of at a glance. Taking your seats around this table, Wynn settles into one of the chairs and leans forward across the table, looking at all of you. And they say, "So, you've gave you a chance to look at what we're working with here, so yeah. It hasn't been good. We've got a hard fight behind us and a harder one ahead." If you don't mind my asking, I mean, other than the fact that I asked for it, why do you want to help us? You seemed all too... Yeah, but you seemed all too ready to drop the whole weapons thing and jump into a cause that has nothing to do with you.
Well, I wouldn't say it has nothing to do with us, but I mean, you did need help.
From everything I've been hearing, it sounds like you all need help too. And unfortunately, we're not really in a position to offer it.
We've been handling ourselves pretty okay so far.
So far.
Well, if you're as good at everything else as you are your ship repair, I'm inclined to believe you.
Well, you're setting a pretty high bar there, but I'm sure we'll find a way to be helpful.
Let's just say we're sympathetic to people who are being manipulated by those in power.
Great. More idealists. It's not exactly like I can turn down your help since it's so freely given. Um, I said I had a plan, and I do. It's not exactly a foolproof one, but it's the one we've got. So, if you're willing to help, I could use you, or more accurately, I could use you and your ship. They reach over and sort of begin manipulating the holographic displays on the table, and you watch as some of the displays shift and sort of zoom in on what looks like the fourth planet in the system. And as you're looking, you can see what looks like it's probably a real-time holographic feed where you can see several ships in orbit around the world. Not as many as you would have expected. At which point, Wynn nods and says, "You'll see here on this world, all around. This is where they have the mining operation on the surface of the world. Minimal atmosphere. The atmospheric. It's a fully terraformed world, but the atmosphere is still underdeveloped, so it makes conditions harsh, to say the least. There's not much beyond a token security force, but it's enough to keep the local populace in check, especially considering that they have not much to work with. Only token facilities set up as far as the mining facility itself, just enough to house and run a mining operation. And if that was it, then we probably wouldn't need you. But my intel has suggested recently that the Baron is making exclusive arrangements with one of the corps, and in return, the corp is making an investment in his operation here. There'll be, as currently, there's a delegation from the corp here in the system meeting with the Baron, working out how they're going to start building proper facilities. And needless to say, it's sort of accelerated our plans, because once they start, then suddenly the corporations get involved and it becomes a lot harder for us to do anything. So the plan. You watch as the holographic display zooms in takes up a section of the world, where you can see a single large cruiser, and below you can see where on the map itself an indicator of the facility. The facility has a two-pronged defense system. First, here they point at where the mining facility is. They say, here, around the entirety of the facility, they have a perimeter defense field. It's usually down. It goes up in cases of emergencies, riots, assaults, etc. Now, on this ship here, you'll notice there is a long-range transmitter. It's where they have their communications relay, where they keep contact between the facility and Zoloterra. In any event out of the ordinary, there are certain protocols in place. Any unauthorized ships that enter the vicinity, or any assaults that begin, They even smell trouble. The long range distress beacon gets sent out, and automatically a signal gets sent to the force field to bring it up. It's not impregnable, but by the time anybody gets through that defense field, reinforcements will have arrived from the homeworld. Similarly, if the defense field goes up for any reason, the distress beacon is automatically sent, which means that if any of those things are going to be dealt with, they have to be dealt with simultaneously. Or at the very least, and that's where we come to the plan, if the defense field goes up when the beacon fails, the defense field, it doesn't matter if the defense field is up or not, as long as somebody is on the inside already. Now, this is where you and your ship come in. We didn't detect you until you were right on top of us. That tells me that you have a stealth capable vessel.
We can run quiet.
It's not going to help you get onto the planet, but it will help you get in range of one of their supply shuttles. The plan is
a particular one you have in mind?
They have regular supplies that run from Zolaterra, especially now, given that the mining colony is solely dependent on Zolaterra at the moment. They are not self-sustaining in any capacity yet. It's the facility's only weakness. Up till now, however, we haven't been able to get anybody close enough to the shuttles. Anytime we've ambushed them, they've either called for reinforcements quickly, which have pushed us away, or, well, once or twice shuttles were destroyed before we could do anything useful with them. So, but with your ship, we should be able to get right on top of them before they even notice anything. Hopefully they don't notice at all. Ideally, the goal is to get a strike team onto 2 different shuttles. One strike team that will focus on the long-range beacon and shutting it down. The other strike team will go planet-side to the facility itself. There's a reason we stole those weapons, and it wasn't just for our forces. As I mentioned, they only have a token security force on the planet itself, which means that a strike force, it's still enough to handle any sort of small-scale incursion of the kind that might slip through their security measures, but it's not enough to deal with a whole prison full of people. So, the plan is to get a strike team on board one of the supply shuttles and have get 2 strike teams, one on board 2 different shuttles. One makes for the ship in orbit for the beacon. The other makes for planetside with the weapons shipment. As long as the strike team is on planetside is inside the perimeter defense field when the beacon goes down, there shouldn't be a problem.
How many people are on the colony?
At present, unknown, but we estimate somewhere around 500.
Okay.
Is
So
it possible?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Pete, you go ahead.
I was just going to ask, roughly how many folks are on the strike team, or not on the strike team, on the security, kind of keeping them in line? You said not that many, right?
Probably only
Just
about
enough.
Probably only about 100 or so.
Okay.
Is it possible that the strike team that doesn't go planet side, the one that makes for the beacon, could they deactivate it so it doesn't go off ever in this whole operation?
That's the goal. The problem is if the beacon, if anything's wrong with the beacon, the shield automatically goes up. If the beacon is disabled, the shield will go up.
Okay.
And
then
vice
what?
versa.
Then-
If the shield is disabled, the beacon goes off.
So once we've distributed weapons to the people in the colony, and say when maybe even have won a fight or something, how do we get them off world? I guess we bring something like this in, a larger ship.
Nope. The plan isn't to get them off world. The one thing the Baron has in his favor is that he's sitting on top of a literal gold mine.
I like this plan.
We're not going to be able to secure aid for ourselves in any way if nobody's listening to us. The best way of getting anybody to listen is to hit him where it hurts. Hit him in the bank account. But going beyond that, when the Baron seized control, he had hired an outside mercenary force. After which he disbanded the police force. Now, the only security that the planet has is in his pocket. They're not going to react well when it turns out he's not going to be able to pay them. He sunk a lot of capital into this mining operation. And as far as Silverbreak goes, well, they're not going to care who has control as long as they still get their profit. So if the Baron doesn't have control of the mines anymore, then they have to deal with us.
And do you have a plan to keep the Baron from just sending reinforcements even after the planet is captured? I mean, what stops them from just sending in thousands of people?
Well, for one thing, and they kind of smirk and they say, before all this, I wasn't always a resistance fighter. I used to be a member of the press. Let's just say that there are certain records that the Baron will have. Basically, it'll be pretty clear what has happened if he tries to take that kind of action against us. Plus, we get to use his own defenses against him. So it'll be it's a lot easier to hold that place than it is to take it.
He'd get pretty bad press, huh?
Oh, definitely. Especially that's one of the reasons why we're planning this now with the Silverbreak delegates here in the system. All the eyes are here. He's not going to be able to do much with that kind of heat on him.
Venus gonna lean into whoever's like closest to her and be like, okay, then we like super gotta not have our faces seen if they're here.
Yeah, that's exactly what Phoenix was also thinking.
We do not want them knowing that we're here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get this hat any further over my face than it already is.
Via's gonna turn to Win and be like, just so you know, if any of this is seen being associated with us, Silverbreak's not gonna like it and is not gonna want to play nice in any respect. So, heads up.
Yeah, we can't be a visible team in any way.
Well, the best part about covert strike teams is that they rarely make front page news.
So, which team are we? Are we ground or beacon?
Well, quite honest.
We should definitely have a team going to the ground that's not just that has a lot of folks that are familiar with the colony, because they're not just gonna listen to us. We're outsiders.
Oh, wherever you go, you're not going by yourselves.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
I've let you in this far, but I'm not going to let you go without some of my own people to watch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Of course.
Seems fair.
But actually,
Again, really important that if you want any of this to go over smoothly at all, you do not want Silverbreak to know that we're working with you.
hopefully, one day, we will get the chance for you to tell me what that's about. But for now, I don't care because I don't have the luxury of choice. So, I'm thinking for the time being, it seems like they kind of look you all over, say, you don't seem, well, most of you don't seem like you have any kind of infantry training. Good, then you'll fit right in. I'm thinking about putting you on the ground assault. Mostly because we're not going to be as solely reliant on you. Your job is basically to get weapons in the hands of the prisoners there, and then stand back. On the cruiser, things are likely to get a little bit more complicated, and that's one that's the timing is sensitive on that one, and everything else, every other part of the operation depends on it going smoothly. So, I'm not going to bother asking if I can trust you with this because, like I said, I don't have a choice. So, this is your last chance to walk away.
I would have walked away already. I'm in.
I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
I just need to make a quick change at our ship.
J-
Wait, we're gonna be going in on our ship anyway.
Jade pipes up from the background. He's just,
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
That's
I'm
right.
not sure if I get a vote, but yeah, I'm in too.
You absolutely get a vote.
Oh, cool. Well, then I'm in.
We'll definitely need some kind of gear to disguise our entire self so that people just don't recognize us when they see us.
Can manage a few things. We have a few. You don't exactly become a resistance force with people's identities being out in the open. There are still people here who have families back on the homeworld. So, and the Baron's not above going after them.
Well, maybe you can teach us a few things about disguising ourselves.
Maybe I can. Anyway, we're set to just to start off the operations in about 8 hours. So you have that time to prepare. Until then, you have free reign of any of my ships with an escort.
Cool, we might want to go prep our ship, I guess. Make sure we're good there.
Sounds good. I will have the weapons shipment prepared.
Sounds good.
Great.
Well, I'll leave you to it then.
We look forward to working with you.
Do we? I do not say in character.
They turn back to the holo displays, and you pretty much understand yourselves to be dismissed at this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
We go.
We have stuff to probably talk about ourselves, I feel like, at this
Yeah, we
point.
also have crew members on our ship who have no idea what the fuck
What's
is going
going on?
on. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gosh.
They're just waiting for us. Like, okay.
Yeah, how long have we been gone at this point?
At this point, probably about, well, since Bino was on the ship, since Bino was last on the ship to get Jade and parts,
Oh, yeah.
probably about maybe an hour or so.
Okay, so it hasn't been that long.
No.
She did not give any information to anyone who was on that ship.
Nope.
She was just like, Jade, let's go. Come on, we gotta go. And he's like, what?
No,
Pretty
What?
much.
Let's go.
All right.
It feels a lot longer. It feels like it's been almost a week.
I know, right? Yeah.
Weird how. See,
Time these days, huh?
and that's
Time be that
that's
way.
a joke that in a different time would have meant something, but now every day feels like a week. So
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let's
Okay.
go back to the ship.
Yeah.
All
First
right.
things first. Ship.
okay, so you make your way back through the corridors, escorted back to your ship, and as you board the Awakener, once as you approach the ramp, just sort of extends down, and you make your way up onto your ship.
Are the two of them still on the couch where I left them?
Abriel is not there anymore, but
okay.
Patch still is.
Okay.
Patch.
You see that as you step in, Patch's head comes up and just sort of looks at all of you. You see like the central iris in the center of into the center of the head just sort of adjust, sort of focusing on all of you, and then just sort of goes back to what they're doing, which you'd swear like they quickly like kind of put it away, but you would swear for a moment that they were carving. But yeah, you make your way back, and Patch stands, says, "You have returned."
Yes. Yes, with a lot of pieces of information, a lot of things to consider, and to I guess be aware of if you're going to be hanging out with us. I want to get like Abriel in here and just kind of like sit down and exposit to these two, and I'm sure Alma will be listening. Whether or not she apparates is up to her.
She actually does so at this moment as she just sort of appears and says, "Hi, I just wanted to let you know that there are up in the observation room. There is a built-in central display. None of you have found it yet. It's stored in the floor panels of the room. It's intended to double as some sort of briefing room or."
That'll work. That'll do. Yeah, let's get everybody up there.
I want to see it.
Okay.
Thank you, Alma.
I'll meet you there. And then she just sort of fades.
Blinks, yeah. She's like, I'm teleporting.
Hey, that's cheating.
Race you there.
Uh-huh.
Does Patch have any reaction to her? He hasn't, as far as I'm aware, they haven't met her yet.
Other than once again, like a reaction that you're starting to learn to interpret as a sort of idle curiosity. You see as once again basically their head tilts slightly down, back up, and slightly to the side, and you just see like that focusing once again. And that's pretty much like the whole thing, which something that they've done several times already.
Just as remembering that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at this point, you make your way to up to the observation room where you enter, and it looks the same as it always has, except at this point, Alma is standing there, and as you all make your way in, you watch as she smiles and looks over, and you watch as the floor panels in the middle of the observation room just slide open, and then basically like a holographic display table just starts rising from the floor.
Cool.
And as this is happening, you also watch as like overhead, like the windows that look up out into space, they start tinting, kind of darkening the room.
Okay, that's cool.
Alma looks over and says, "You can start the holographic display and input all kinds of data. It's linked directly into the ship's mainframe, so you can pull up whatever information the ship has."
Ooh. Can I pull up that feed that Wynn had of the fourth planet?
Yeah, you can do that.
Nice.
Infographics. No.
Abriel just sort of sits. she's currently holding like the first aid kit, which sort of gives the impression that she hasn't put it down since you guys landed.
Wasn't completely convinced that we weren't going to get the shit kicked out of us the moment we
Yeah.
landed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she basically she sits.
She thought one of us would be dying.
She sits down on one of the couches, kind of to the side of the observation room, and like extends her legs out, kind of crossing one over the other, and just leans back and says, "So, what have you gotten us into this time?"
So more things that you definitely didn't sign up for. New developments, and I would, with my team, would like to exposit.
Okay.
Yeah. I
The
feel like we all jump in at different parts.
Yes.
Collaborative recap.
At some point, someone's gonna have to talk over Beanick. She's gonna give him pieces of information that don't matter. She's gonna tell you how excited she is that she and Jade fixed the life support system. It has nothing to do with our current predicament.
And Jade is not helping with any of this because they're just like, oh yeah, no, and then they're going back and forth, not speaking complete sentences and talking over each other without realizing it.
Ina's kind of useful. She can get it set up, but she can't always like follow the same trail. She'll get back eventually, but I'm sure you'll have to see.
And then kind of like it's at some point as we're kind of wrapping up, maybe Bina's still kind of going on a little bit. I'm just gonna turn to Avril and Patches and just kind of make sure that they know and just say, you don't have to do these things. This is what we have agreed to. If you think it's too dangerous, you don't want to participate, we'd love to have you, but you're under no obligation to us.
There's a moment as Abriel just sort of looks between all of you, and she leans forward and kind of sets the first aid kit down on her lap in front of her, leaning into it, and sort of drums her fingers on the front of it. And she says, "Well, I've been a battle medic before. Just tell me where you need me."
Cool.
Patch just sort of has little reaction to any of this, but then notices you all kind of like looking at them. Patch just sort of thinks and says, "Well, I have chosen to travel with you, and this is what you have chosen. I will help how I can. Although I am not skilled in combat."
Neither am I.
Me either. We're good. We'll get through this. Just, if at any point you're like, hey, this is not at all what I foresaw of the next few weeks, we'll do our best to get you somewhere that isn't this. So keep us posted, I guess.
Yeah, we have about 7 hours until we're needed.
Understood. I shall prepare. Alma just says,
Good.
I think I can probably keep us out of their sensors long enough for, well, I can get us close enough, that's for sure, but we don't have any kind of equipment. We don't have any kind of grapple to hold their shuttle, which means that if there's any kind of boarding, then it's going to have to happen in flight. And I'm not sure I would recommend that.
You don't have a hidden one of those boarding passages that the pirate ships have somewhere?
Well, we do have the docking the docking extension, which we are currently using to be docked with the flotilla, but it's not designed to work in mid-flight.
Maybe these guys and their crew would have some tech they'd be willing to loan us.
I've actually been doing some passive scans of their of the flotilla.
Alma! I love it.
I don't know that they have much more than what we've seen already.
That's fair.
frankly, I'm not really sure how they were planning on. If this was their plan the whole time, I'm not really sure how they were planning on accomplishing it without, well, us.
Probably a
And it's
worse
a good thing
way.
we came along.
Was a I think it's kind of a last ditch effort.
Even with us, it seems like the plan is deep enough that they must have some idea about how to do the boarding portion of it. That's unless they assume that we and this ship have capabilities that we really don't. Maybe if we asked Wynn, they would be able to tell us in more detail how we're supposed to board not one but two shuttles from this ship right here. Maybe it's worth an ask.
I think so.
I could go back in there.
I bet we could comms them.
That's true.
Potentially. I have no idea if that's something we could actually do.
Yeah, you
We
probably could.
probably could, yeah.
You're so used to
Swim.
walking long distances to talk to people. This advanced communications technology is unknown to me. I actually
We're gonna fax Win a list of
Exactly.
questions.
I prepare a carrier pigeon.
Just after a whole bunch of obnoxious noises and like, ah, damn it, a paper jam. God,
I actually want to fiddle around on this new command station thing that's come out of the floor to try to find a comm and try to call Win or call somebody in.
Yeah. Easy enough to do. It actually doesn't.
Short-range
It doesn't take you that long to find it. There is a comm system built in, and before too long, you actually see a holographic display pop up, and you can see Win in their office as they look up and say, "Go ahead."
Hi, hello, Win. It's me, Olem, guest number 3.
Yes, I can
think.
see that.
Okay. Sorry to bother you, but did you have a specific idea about how to do the boarding the shuttles part of this plan? We were just wondering.
Well, we have my people are not strangers to zero G drops. We've had to do it a few times. How do you think we've got most of the ships we have?
All right. Thank you. That's a good. Thank you. Now we understand.
I'll have
That-
I'll have some advanced EVA tech sent your way. We have a little bit to spare.
Thank you so much. Over and out. I'm like, I don't know how to. I kind of turn to everybody. I'm like,
Olem, you did great. That was a great call.
I have an adrenaline rush from that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm no good at this kind of thing.
Jade is looking around wide-eyed and he says, "Zero G drops? Really? Those are really hard to pull off. I mean, I was reading about them for school a few years ago, and they're almost impossible for people who even people who have been trained. They're so hard to pull off. The coordination required for that kind of thing. I mean, they have to. Oh, this isn't helpful, is it? Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was fun.
I think we have an excellent pilot.
This
I
is
think we
true.
can do it.
Just for us, folks who probably know what a drop that drop is, if you want to just talk a little bit more about it, so that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's actually a tactic that's used in a lot of militaries for boarding vessels. Pirates do it a lot. It's basically, although usually pirates will also have, they have the kind of technology that Alma was talking about a little bit ago, but they have like boarding ramps that are specifically designed for that kind of thing. But if in the case that they don't, sometimes they'll have advanced EVA suits that allow them to perform drops from one ship to another in mid-flight. So like in space, it requires some pretty precise flying as well as calculations on the part of the drop troopers. But yeah, I mean, it involves landing on the hull of the ship in question and breaching from the outside.
Hmm.
I can definitely do that. The flying part. The other parts I have no clue what that entails, but I can definitely land a ship on another ship.
Yeah.
Mason's probably done this kind of training, right?
Yeah, Mason's trained for this. Probably never
Okay.
actually done a
Never-
real one, but
I don't think
definitely
so.
has had training in this kind of thing. Yeah.
The idea of it made him kind of sick, I think.
If you recall, this is actually what Zaya did with the regulators. This was her. Yeah, this is what she did.
That's right.
I point my
Sai
hand.
was here.
She'd be
Yeah.
so into this.
Well, I push my hands to the ground, like hover off the ground a little bit. Like I've got some measure of control over my own gravity and the gravity of some other things, but I don't know. I don't think I have. I don't understand it enough to be able to be much of a help for anybody but myself. Just saying. I hope I can be some help when we get to that point.
I think it would be a big help.
I just am not completely sure the extent of what I can do at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this does not sound like a safe way to test the limits. I'm just putting it out there that there might be something I can do.
No
I
time
touched a
like the
live
present.
wire. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Abriel leans forward and says, "Okay, hold on. I was skeptical but on board before, but let me just see if I can understand. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. The plan is to pull off a highly sophisticated military maneuver with none of the appropriate technology or training, and that's just the first part of the operation. Am I about...
Well, Wynn did say they were sending some EVA suits and tech over, so. But yeah, you're right. You should have seen inside that place.
I didn't
Not
have to
great.
see inside the place. The outside of it is pretty telling.
Yeah, the inside pretty much looks like the outside.
Hey, well, we have 6.5 hours, 6 hours and 45 minutes to learn how to use the equipment. So
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but I do have a different idea. You'll recall a
love
few
to
days.
hear it.
You recall a few days ago, I took blood samples from all of you.
Yeah.
I've been studying them as best I can, and Olem might not actually be off track here. I'll give you the full the full report of all of my findings so far. They're still coming in, but as far as immediately relevant things, one thing that is pretty clear is whatever was done to you, it's still happening. Your bodies are still changing. There's still whatever this is that was done to you. It's not done yet.
That tracks. That's kind of what Wire told us, isn't it?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
she was probably
Yeah.
right. Which means that really there's no telling what any of you are capable of at any moment. So as much as it is fully in the unknown category, Olem might actually not be wrong about his ability to contribute to this. I mean, think about it. The hardest part of all of this, if I'm understanding correctly, the hardest part of all of this is coordinating the ship's flight and the drop. But if, for example, do you mind if I... she stands up and goes over to the holographic display. If theoretically you were to... the way that some of these drops work, particularly in the military, on certain military vessels, they'll have a projector here. Uh, she she brings up a display of like of the Awakener, and you can see the outside. Here, where you have the docking tunnel, usually military ships of a certain class will have a projector here, where it effectively projects um, a, a basically a gravity tunnel. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's a directed. It's a directed tube of gravity that essentially allows for more coordination between the flight and the drop.
Gravitornado.
Sure, if you want to get ridiculous about it.
Of course, always.
But um, there's no reason, as far as I can tell, that Olem wouldn't be able to recreate this. I mean, not at least from what I've found in my tests so far, which I will admit are still pretty incomplete, but
What do you think, Olem?
Oh, I can try. If they have this tech, why don't they just use what they know?
they don't.
I know.
This is just what's standard, but
Other than when I'm not, yeah, the training here is lacking. No offense to these people, why it's lacking in me too. Yeah, I could try that.
it's the
Set
best
up
shot we
one.
have. Otherwise people are going to end up spinning out into space more than likely.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, I think I could do that.
Jade speaks up and says, "I there is another thing, and this is sort of the not to be the one who has the bad news and the bad like, but
No, no, go for it,
it's
Jade.
important.
Good. It's all good.
Usually in EVA suits, there's a tracking beacon so that if anything happens, they can be found and picked up. The problem with that is that, well, if you have those, they're going to be able to pick you up, which means stealth is pretty much off the table with those.
Can we disable the tracking units at all?
Yeah, we can, but it just means that there's no safety net. So if you go spinning off into space, I mean, the chances of anybody finding you are very small. At least finding you before your oxygen runs out.
Well, when there's no net, you just got to step really carefully.
Yeah, anyway, just figured that was worth mentioning.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
good
It's a
to
good,
know.
it's a good point. Well, I'm glad that you both agreed to this because some good points have been made. But how is everybody we haven't gotten the chance to talk since all that happened. Where's everybody at?
Still
you-
not the weirdest thing that's happened in the past 2 weeks.
Is Peach looking specifically at Abriel and Patch, or at everybody?
No, I like at everybody.
Yeah, okay.
This is becoming the norm.
I would say so.
I could use a cup of coffee though.
Jade looks at says, "Oh, I'll make some."
Thanks, buddy.
Intern. We're all interns here. That's what I can't help thinking. This kind of feels like what we set out to do without much choice, but everything we look, I'm happy to try to do this, but is this a bridge too far? Is this just suicide, what we're about to do here? I don't know what we're capable of, but this almost I just don't know. I have to say I'm afraid. More than before.
I guess the prospect of doing fun ship tricks is always very good. But I don't really know how we're executing the rest of this plan. So I guess I feel you a little bit on that one.
I mean, oh, go ahead, Olem.
I don't know if this is the norm for desperate people like this. If every group of people we come upon with a plan, it's going to be a plan like this that seems like walking into death. Is this the way that people like this have to operate everywhere in the galaxy? It might be. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. And it's a lot if that's what it is. And maybe we have to get used to it and start taking that step towards what looks like death ourselves.
I mean,
It's okay to. Go ahead.
I guess it looks that way. I have a feeling it's going to be similar most places we go, but currently we're, I guess as it seems, taking steps to make sure they don't have to keep doing that. So I guess that's kind of cool in the grand scheme of things.
It's got to be bigger than me or bigger than us, but I can't help constantly worrying about my own safety, old habits.
It's okay to be afraid. I mean, this is a pretty scary situation, Olem. I mean, we're going up against something that we don't have control of. We're going in with powers we don't really understand fully, but I mean, I know that we have the power to do this. I can feel it. I can sense it. I know that we can do it. I'm sorry if that doesn't help, but
No,
I think we're the team to do it.
That does actually. Well, it doesn't make sense, but it feels right to hear you say that, Peach.
I'm glad. And hey, we have a quick getaway. If we could have a point where if it gets too dire and we absolutely need to save as many people as we can and jet, I mean, we have more fights to win in the future, and there's no point in wasting our lives on one struggle. But if we can even win one struggle, then that's worth something.
Right. Yeah.
How does Olem look at this point? Like, what's his, like, how does, like...
He's all right. Olem's
Okay.
He's a neurotic person, and he's
Uncomfortable,
Yeah.
afraid, and anxious of having responsibility. And my voice is cracked in real life because of it. But he's all right. He seems his like burst of anxiety is quelled.
Okay. Because I don't know if this would work, but I was going to try and do a little bit of encouragement, not in a manipulating way, just to make him feel safe. Like, just in like a giving confidence to my friend sort of situation in a flavor way.
We can absolutely say, like, I mean, that's effectively how we sort of flavor your putting people to sleep. So we can sort of say that you just sort of give a little, like a little tap on the gas as far as that goes. And like, there's a small amount of calmness that begins to envelop Olem. And you get just your eyelids feel a little bit heavy, but like not in a way that you can't resist. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. We can do this. We just got to get ready.
just like emotional anti-anxiety meds. Is that what just?
Yeah, I was like, I know, I was like, who needs like Ativan? You're good.
Xanax. You're good here.
Perfect.
That's amazing.
Very helpful.
Abriel looks over at you, Olem, and says, honestly, you being afraid in this situation is probably the sanest thing that's happened since I got on this ship. So,
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Well, I better go and put my hat away, my coat, try to figure out a disguise of some kind, and grab my vest. Some kind of disguise we all need, huh?
Yeah, were they gonna send something over? Because I feel like Wynn said that he was gonna provide, or that they were gonna provide something, but I wasn't sure if anything was provided as of now.
which actually, if you guys are, is this sort of the end of this particular conversation?
I think so, unless
Okay.
anyone else has something to add.
Okay. Then within about maybe 45 minutes or so of your last communication with Wynn, uh, as you're all sort of like working out logistics and sort of figuring out a few things, Bina sort of running like basically like running flight simulations, sort of like doing like calculations, just sort of seeing like with Alma's help, trying to like sort of figuring out the like basically flight trajectories that would be necessary to pull this whole thing off.
Can I be privy to that and like listening and
Yeah.
to understand
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
but also
Yes.
like jumping between that and like researching these actual jumps, how they work, if that's anywhere in the database in the ship or anything?
I
Yeah.
could totally be a bug in your ear on that too. Mason probably knows a few
Oh
things
yeah,
about
that's
that.
true. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
just learning as much as I can. Yeah.
So at some point during all that, Alma suddenly stops mid sentence and looks up at you, Bina, and she says, "There's somebody outside the ship. I think they want to get in."
I'll pull up. Is there like a feed I can see who's
Yeah,
like
you can pull it up, and you
what's the doorbell
Yeah.
camera that's what's that called?
pretty much, and you basically you see a couple of Wynn's resistance holding. They've basically got like a small crate between the two of them, and as they look up, you can just sort of see they just sort of wave up at the feed.
Incoming goodies. Let's go greet our guests. And Venus gonna
Nice.
hop down into the is the hold where that door is?
Yeah.
Down to the hold then.
So you make your way down, and as the door opens, and just as you're approaching, Alma seeming to have waited until somebody was present before opening the door, you see the two of them make their way in, kind of holding the crate between them, and one of them, an Anzalonian man, just sort of looks up. He says, "Okay, so, Wynn sent us with these. These are attachments should fit on any standard EVA suit. So if you've got your own, these should attach right on them, and it'll assist with some of the some of it is tactical armor. Some of it is just sort of we've got some mag boots for the suits, so that, well, you don't land and then slide off and go careening off into.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So
We've got some space over here. We've cleared out some areas, so you can just set that down and
all
hope
right,
everything works out.
we'll just can we just set it down over here and then.
Yeah.
Okay. And they carry it over and then unceremoniously take their leave.
Goodbye. Okay. And we have EVA suits.
Yeah.
That has been established. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I guess then we'll bring a bunch of those into this area just to kind of like, she'll bring one in just to kind of like fiddle with it to see if everything will attach to it in the way that they're anticipating.
Yeah, it definitely does. And what you're noticing, the first thing that you notice is as like Bina's probably had to do a few like 0G repairs before. Standard in any EVA suit are like the like magnetic attachments. What you're looking at here in what they just brought over is like a much higher powered version, which essentially allows for immediate traction, like upon impact kind of thing, which is good because most magnetic boots for EVA suits wouldn't cut it. Like they're enough to hold you on the hull of a ship, not
For
qu-
like a gentle, leisurely repair.
yeah,
Like not
they're not enough
Yeah.
to hold you, and probably wouldn't be enough to keep traction with like an impact.
Yes.
So these are basically just specially designed for this exact task.
Yes.
They look pretty dated. They are certainly nowhere near state of the art, but they are functional.
Cool. Okay, well, once I'm sure everything is gonna work with the shit that we have, Beans can go back up to the bridge.
Okay.
And continue making sure that she good. Okay, so for Caitlin, the plan that we know of so far is we're doing this drop with all of us. And are we going down to Planetside? Is that what's happening?
So we're getting the cargo ship, right? We're doing one of the cargo
Yeah.
ships.
Yep.
And
So
all of us are getting on it.
We haven't
Go
decided,
down?
I don't think, who's going on it.
Or
but
are we dropping their people?
uh,
It sounded like they
both.
wanted us Planetside.
they do. It's both.
Okay.
that's the second part of the plan, right?
Yeah. The first part of the plan is essentially you're going to be doing this drop twice. Once with Wynn's people, and then once with Wynn's people and you guys.
Yeah, I was thinking we have to be second, I think. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah, because essentially the plan all hinges on that. The most important part of it is the long range communications relay going down. But when it does, you have to be inside, or else you're not getting inside.
Because of the force force field, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why we need the cargo ships, because we have to get in without
Get in
Yep.
through
being
this, yes.
detected.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So
And-
so am I staying out? Am I staying off planet then? Because someone's got to drive the ship.
I mean,
I was one.
Alma can fly it.
Okay. I
Yeah.
figured it, but I didn't know if like we were just like abandoning ship entirely here.
Yeah, no, Alma can fly the ship. She hasn't done it before, and that's mostly just as she reveals to you at some point during all of this conversation. She did it because she didn't want to freak anybody out. So she didn't do. She like refrained because she didn't want to freak anybody out.
Okay. I figured she had that capability, but I was like, I didn't know like we're just fucking off. Like that is what's happening. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
We could also leave some of our Abriel, Jade, and Patch types on the ship if they don't want to be boots on the ground.
Yeah, I'm
True.
hoping that they'll have
Stay
the
put.
bridge while we're gone.
Yeah, same here. They don't
I
have the same superpowers.
Figure at least Abriel and Patch will probably want to stay, but we might have to convince Jade to stay.
Well, I want an engineer on the ship just in case. So Jade's gonna have to deal with that
That's the
assignment.
argument every time.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Always
mean-
makes sense.
It's
Rock
valid.
solid.
We're about to
Yeah.
go do dangerous shit. Like if Alma can pilot, that's great, but Alma can't make physical repairs to the ship as far as I'm aware. I mean, maybe she can, but like if
That would
she's
be crazy.
piloting, she can't be dealing with that shit if this goes sideways.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's someone who's on board who can actually fix shit. And this isn't solely it is a little bit of an excuse to keep Jade on the ship, but like genuinely I need to make sure there's a mechanic on the ship at all times.
Yeah.
I want to
How-
keep Jade safe. I also want to keep Alma and the ship safe. Right?
Yeah.
Did we get any, like, how big are these cargo ships? Like, are they big enough to hold? Like, we have Wynn had how many people? Like 400 people, right?
Yeah, they're
Or they
not
have
they're not
400?
all gonna go.
Well, yeah.
There's a
But-
strike team.
yeah.
To fit on our ship too. The two strike teams have to fit
Yeah.
on our ship.
Yeah, like your ship is probably smaller than the supply shuttles.
Are these like trucker sized transports that like Bina used to fly?
No, not quite, because it's not
Okay.
like full on interstellar cargo vessels. These are
Cargo,
just
okay.
these are just supply shuttles.
Small, okay.
Yeah.
But bigger than Awakener.
Probably, or at least
Okay.
maybe not bigger in terms of bigger in terms of the fact in terms of the actual space that is used by the crew, they're significantly smaller. But they do have like larger cargo bays. Like they are about 70% cargo bay. So
Yeah. Physically
physically
they-
they're roughly in the same size class of
same
vessel.
size
Yeah.
bracket. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is this going to be like when you have too many people over in a tiny apartment for a party? Like it's like there's your elbows are hitting each other, and
I hope so.
Well, that's the one upside of it being cargo shuttles is that there's a lot of space in there.
Okay.
So
Less
but
true for-
but an Awakener.
Awakener,
getting their assault
Maybe.
team on charge.
it might be a little
Task force.
tight. It won't be.
We
Yeah.
we had 30 refugees on our
Yeah,
ship
you
at
That's
one point.
true.
you did,
Yeah.
and that was
2 days ago.
like that was approaching like uncomfortable levels, but not quite there.
So the first thing that we do when we get onto the cargo ship, I mean the strike team will probably do this, but just disable their communications, right? So they can't communicate that there's any kind of like pirates in the area. There's no rebel forces, nothing like that.
Are we completely taking over these ship? Is that what like we're taking the ship?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ooh, I get to fly a new ship.
It might be a disappointment coming from Awakener.
Probably.
Yeah. It's like the difference between the maneuverability of a jet ski and a tugboat. Like it's
Yeah.
Oh,
It's probably
man.
like Bina's first spaceship. Just
Has she ever flown something like this scale before?
yeah.
This type of ship?
this is the,
it's the XL pickup truck.
yeah, this is the kind of ship like this is maybe a larger version, but it's the same kind of ship that like the types of ships that Bina used to fly. They would have a couple of these on board.
Okay.
Because there are some places where they would make stops that they couldn't actually dock. Like not everywhere that those ships make deliveries to have the facilities
Freighters
to.
would stay in orbit,
Yeah.
and we would have these to go down.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, so almost certainly. So
Cool.
yeah.
Easy peasy.
This plan gets better the more we talk about it.
So anything else?
I want to rest a little bit, so my pools are up.
Yeah.
From last session.
And same.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would be the case. So for the most part, there's just sort of a lot of preliminary planning. Wynn sends along whatever information you need in order to make necessary calculations. And
Do we get a number on their team?
yeah,
joining us?
each the strike teams will be about 15 to 20 people each.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Cool. Got it.
Yeah. When figuring that the smaller the group, the better, but still with enough people to actually,
Do something.
Yeah.
And so they're bringing down weapons from our ship into these transports. Are each of these like of their strike force like carrying these on their person? Or are there going to be crates we're going to have to maneuver into this ship once we take it? Like, what's the deal
Yeah,
there?
the latter.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically the procedure is essentially drop, take over, and then dock properly.
Cool.
Is essentially and then transfer the weapons over.
How many people would roughly be in, like a cargo vessel? Like how many people will we have to like kind of be worried about? Pina would probably know that. Yeah.
Smaller crew, right? Like this is
Yeah,
not
no,
gonna be a huge.
no, definitely not. Like each shuttle's at most probably crewed by about 5 people.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
15 people showing up real quick to.
yeah.
Calculated strike.
All right. So, you all are kind of getting at some point you get as close to fully prepared as you feel like you can be given the time. And you decide that it's time to rest up before your big mission. Olem, during your rest at one point you wake suddenly as you sort of looking around trying to figure out blearily trying to figure out what woke you. You hear sort of like snuffling sounds from the cubicle over from yours, from like the stall over from where you're that you've taken. And just kind of hearing just sort of, yeah, that's the best description that I can give for that.
I grab like a heavy, like a cup, some kind of heavy thing from next to my bed.
Up.
Yeah, it's just
Like
because
a
I saw
metal
a
mug,
cup
like a-
in real
Yeah.
life.
I know, I love it. Keep going.
I grab a mug and a flash. Can I find a flashlight offhand? No, wait. I just turned the lights on in the damn room.
Yeah.
Or is it the shared sleeping room? Sorry.
Everyone sleeps in here, right?
Yeah, they're like there's like individual like dividers between all of these places, and like there's fair enough privacy. Like you have like just sort of like panel door that comes across like the entrance to the like the effectively cubby where your bunk would be, and when it's closed, it provides fair privacy, but yeah.
Okay, I just grab a flashlight, a hand flashlight, if I can find one, and go try to investigate the snuffling.
Okay. You sort of creep down the corridor outside, as you sort of glance in. The panel door is slightly open, and then in the next one over, and as you look in, you can see through some of like the darkness inside. There's definitely movement, sort of spastic movement coming from the bed itself. And as you look,
Do I? Okay.
it does look like there's somebody there. And as you look closer, you can see sort of from underneath the blankets, you can see just sort of like sort of sandy blonde hair. And as you're looking, you're realizing that it looks like Jade's hair.
Is this a bed that somebody normally sleeps in, or is it
Um,
unusual? Or I guess, yeah.
yeah. I mean, people have
Okay.
sort of claimed, beds and stuff, but yeah.
Okay. I kind of step. Does it sound like crying? I like take a step
No,
back.
it sounds like irregular breathing.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Then I hesitantly step in and look to see his. Even use my flashlight, see what his face looks like.
As you do that, he's clearly asleep, but you can see his face is scrunched up in anguish. Like you can see that he's just like yeah.
Nightmare City.
As you're watching for a moment, just trying to like figure out what to do, all of a sudden his eyes just go open. He's just and he looks over at you. He says, "Oh, hi."
Say, I'm sorry. I didn't. You sounded like you were in trouble. You were making weird noises. It must have just been a nightmare.
He kind of sits up in the bed, kind of leans back against the wall, and sort of pulls the blankets up to himself. And he just sort of looks up at you. Says, "Yeah, yeah."
Hey. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was intrusion of privacy.
It's okay. I don't. I keep having dreams about the colony.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot. And you'd spent time there. You knew that place. It would be weird if you didn't have dreams about it at this point.
I didn't really think about I didn't really think about this. I just didn't have anywhere to go. Like I didn't want to go with them because with the rest of the because I just knew that being around them I would always be thinking about it. I wouldn't be able to get away from it with them. and I couldn't go to my dad, and even if I could, I don't think I couldn't have been me there.
Well, listen, we're really happy to have you here, and I hope you can be you here. But like I said earlier, I'm not going to lie to myself or any of us about how dangerous this is all going to be. I'm going to be honest, Jade. I'm not really sure what to say to you or what. I'm trying to explain this all to myself here too, and I'm not sure I can. I I don't know. Peach is good with dreams.
Yeah. You seem like, I don't know, you just seem like you know what you're doing. I don't I don't
We don't. Or at least I don't. Mason might.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't really think about any of this. It just seemed like the right thing at the time. It's what I wanted to do, but I don't know now. I mean, I like being here and I like doing the things that we do, but I just don't really feel like I can. I feel like I'm very close all the time to just losing control. And you all need me.
I think if you have to lose control, you'll lose control. And then you'll get it back, or we'll help you get it back, and you'll still be here. If you want to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not that good at this kind of thing. But if I had the right thing to say to you, I'd say it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Welcome.
He sort of like slides back down and kind of like pulls himself, like basically lays back down and pulls the blanket up and just sort of lays there, just looking directly up at the ceiling.
I hope you get some sleep. Some good sleep. I kind of back out.
Yeah. As you're closing the thing, he just says, Olem,
Yeah, Jade?
well, would you stay in here for a little bit?
Yeah. Sure. I squeeze back in. And then I sit like crisscross applesauce on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But with line of sight between my eyes and Jade's eyes.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't
lean back against the wall. Like
yeah.
That.
As you're sitting there, he doesn't meet your eyes the rest of the time that you're in the room. Once or twice you hear sort of like sort of muffled sobs that just sort of he's just they're very very quiet. mostly you just hear sort of like sort of stuttering breaths. But eventually that sort of gives way to just even breathing. And when Olem looks, Jade is asleep.
Once he's asleep, I try to slurk out of there and go
Okay.
back to my bed, catch a few winks.
All right. Well, with everybody resting before what is sure to be an intense mission, that's where we're going to go to our break.
He's baby.
Make me cry before I go fill up my water.
All right.
Oh,
So we are gonna go to our break. We're gonna get some water, get up, stretch, walk around, breathe, cry,
Oh.
and
Show
we'll
up at Lucas's door, kick his ass for making Jade sad.
we will be back in about 10 minutes. So see you soon.
After our
Bye.
break.
Hello, we are back. There we go. Now it works. For some reason it wasn't transitioning the audio over. Anyway, everything's good now. Hi everybody, welcome back. We're back from break, and everybody ready to get back in?
hell yeah.
Cool.
After that emotional little
Yeah.
number, we're ready to go. Join the
What?
Freedom Fighters.
Who was that emotional? I wasn't emotional. Who was emotional?
What are you talking about? I told Henry when we came back from break, or when we came back, I certainly did cry, but not for the reasons I thought I was going to. I cried off camera because I inhaled water and was coughing myself to death. It was
That's a good one.
terrible.
Getting into character just
Oh, yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get back into the game. So, when we left off, the crew was taking a brief rest before embarking on a pretty intense and stressful mission. So, let's go ahead and start there. Let's start... tell you what, we will start as the crew, like the strike teams, begin boarding the Awakener, sort of making their way in. Among them, you see Wynn dressed in like the full EVA suit, as the strike teams assemble in the hold of the Awakener. Wynn looks around at all of you and glances around the ship and nods. They say, "Not bad.
She's pretty.
Definitely
Functional too.
more so on both counts than anything I've been on for the last couple of years." Everybody ready?
Happy to have you aboard.
Everyone ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Good to go.
As I'll ever be, I guess.
We get suited up on the shipboard EVA suits.
Yeah. By this point, I will go ahead and just assume that everything has sort of been outfitted with the extra stuff that they brought over.
I think I will say Bina's been basically buzzing all morning with the anticipation of flying and doing something very dangerous. But like, I think if she's like not keeping track of it, like if she's like moving around, anyone she walks past will like feel her like excitement, but like it's like like
Yeah.
Geez, calm
Like,
down,
like
buddy.
anxious excitement.
Yeah, she's just buzzing. Like she's and not even anxious, anticipatory. Like she's
Okay.
ready. Like this is the shit she loves.
Yeah. So, unless you were willing to try to talk her out of it, Abriel is also suited up and like has like
Hey, she said she was a battle medic.
Yeah.
She has
Yep.
more experience than us, probably.
oh, and she currently has what looks like
And she knows it.
yeah, more than just her usual like first aid kit that she carries around the ship. She kind of has her like a full medical bag at her side, just sort of standing and looking pretty awkward in the suit, but no more so than any of you, I would say, other than Mason, who's like, used to this kind of stuff, and Bina, who's used to doing like 0G repairs and things like that.
Is Mason smoking a cigarette inside his helmet?
No, because that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, don't.
Like cigarette hotboxing in the
Also, like,
In
also
his space.
oxygen. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
gas, the mask. I'm not saying anything.
Depending on how Mason's body handles it with his ability,
Yeah.
he might be able to.
Yeah, wait, yeah, you can.
That's
Okay,
for
okay.
Future exploration. Future exploration. We're on mission.
so.
At some point in the morning, Bina will do like a debrief with Jade and Alma if
Mhm.
she's around.
Yeah.
Just kind of be like, you're good to be eyes in the sky. You've got the bridge. While we're gone.
They look at each other. It's sort of this comical, like, just eye contact, look back at you, and Alma says, "Yeah, we've got it." Jade.
Cool. This is probably like the third time she's asked that.
Yeah.
Like since like yesterday she made sure they were good, but today she's like, we're sitting down.
Mhm.
We're good. Everyone's on board. Everyone knows the plan.
Alma nods, says, "Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can fly the ship. I mean, I won't be nearly as good at it as you are, but I can do
shucks.
it."
I'm just excited. It'll be good. We'll be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. You guys are gonna be amazing. Okay, cool. And she like gets up and leaves. Like, like goes and like puts the rest of her suit like EVA suit on.
Yeah, like literally, Bina's out of the room, and Jade looks over at Alma, and he goes, "She'll probably be back like maybe 2 or 3 more times."
Every time she passes them, we're good. You good? Like,
All right, but eventually, it is time to depart. So, Bina, in the cockpit, you sort of start setting it all up. Alma informs you that she has disengaged the docking tunnel.
has she been like apparated all of today, or is she like in and out?
It's hard to say because she's there when you need her, but you're not sure where. Like, you're not sure if she stays that way. Like,
That's fair.
when you leave the room or whatever. But
I guess I'm just curious if she's in the co-pilot seat with me.
not currently, no.
Almost my co-pilot, regardless.
Yes. All right.
I
So,
want that
Bumper sticker. Bumper sticker.
you the all clear comes across the checks on the pre-flight checks, and you are ready to take off. So,
Nice.
So, with that, the Awakener takes off, leaving the flotilla behind, and you make your way off into space, away from the planet that the flotilla has made its temporary base of operations. So, we will say. So you basically you pull the ship, having been given coordinates ahead of time for like a location, you bring the Awakener, Bina, to that location and just immediately power everything down.
Do I have Olem on like sensors and stuff?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
say
cool.
so.
Hell yeah.
Unfortunately, a large portion of this plan involves just sort of sitting around and waiting. Now that you
Oh yeah,
have
Bina's
left.
fucking just vibrating in her seat the entire time we're waiting.
Yeah. So, during this time, it's probably a good hour or two before. Excuse me, still have water in my esophagus.
Good.
Yeah, it's just super great.
Isn't that where it's supposed to be?
I'd like it if it went all the rest of the way down. Anyway,
It's true.
it's about an hour or two into waiting. Olem, you get a blip on the sensors as you look, and you see a shuttle incoming.
We got one. We got one coming in.
Is it
Hot.
us?
This is the first one.
All right. I will. Everything we and all will practice.
Okay.
Get into formation.
All right. Go ahead.
Sweet.
And I'm gonna have you make a piloting check, and the difficulty on this one is going to be 5. However, all the planning, I'm gonna let you count that as an asset.
Cool. Okay. Does the ship give me an asset? Does Alma
Yes.
the ship or yes, help. Okay. Piloting. 2. I'm gonna just spend for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna spend. I'm just gonna get it. This seems like a lot. This is stressful.
All right.
Actually, wait. Does Olem on sensors help me at all?
Probably not in this
Guiding
case.
me?
No.
Wait, hold on. I totally gave up very early. Task involving sight.
Yeah, that'll help.
Oh, then that's everything. I
Okay.
am for it. Okay.
All right. So, Bina just maneuvers the ship perfectly, bringing it perfectly into line. Olem, you're just sort of watching the whole thing on sensors, and essentially you watch as your ship's signature and theirs just completely overlap on the scanner. Like they're just sort of moving in perfect synchronicity.
Heck yeah.
Caitlin is very, very excited right now, but I have a feeling Bina is total laser focus. Like this is the
Yep.
stillest you have seen her all day.
Mhm.
Her antennas are slightly curved back just a little bit, and they're holding entirely still. Like she is fucking into this.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, I want to get off sensors and start to jog down towards the airlock because I want to be able to see directly to my target.
Okay.
And yeah, whatever I'm gonna do, I don't want there to be anything between me and it. As I'm jogging, feeling kind of cool for a moment as I run and I'm putting my aviator helmet on as I'm going.
All right. So, you can see as you make your way into the hold, Wynn's strike team, already standing near the airlock. Wynn turns and looks to you and says, "Is it time?"
We're on it.
All right, let's suit up. Let's go. And you watch as their strike team just starts helmets clicking into place. You can see as weapons just sort of people making last minute checks on their weapons, just sort of securing them to the magnetic holsters as they step into the airlock. As you step inside, the Alma begins the depressurization sequence as it goes through, and you watch Olem as kind of just nervously glancing at the displays as it takes a moment, and then you watch as it flashes green, and then depressurization complete. And Wynn nods, and one of the freedom fighters next to the airlock door just hits the button, and you watch as the door just slides open, revealing open space in front of you.
I have my boots, mag boots on, and I'm holding like a railing
Yeah.
thing if there's such a thing exists.
Yeah.
Death
So,
gripping it.
the interesting thing about this is I sincerely doubt anybody has explained to Wynn why Olem is here. So-
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if we knew the plan in any way. I don't think we would have told them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Bina would have not had any of that presence of mind. So it's if any of you told them, that's up to you. But yeah, Bina definitely did not.
Did we establish whether they had the gravity tunnel cannon things?
They don't.
They didn't even have one of those.
Nope. No, that's something that would be on the ship. That's
It'd be
The
like an
receiving.
attachment.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not something. Yeah, it's not something the Awakener has. But suffice it to say that at some point during this, Wynn would have been informed that you have, quote, a plan for that. So at this point,
Yeah.
they're just sort of trusting you.
Yeah, I don't know where Mason's at. I know Peach would have gone down with Olem for sure because just as like a support, backup, cheer.
Oh gosh,
cheer.
is Peach looking through the little window on the inner airlock door?
I mean, not in a pressure way, and like a friend holding up signs to cheer Olem.
Moral support.
It's like Good Morning America in the background holding signs.
Yeah.
And like,
Go Olem!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
you do it.
She figures she'd be more help there than like up in the piloting area. So
Yeah, but at this moment, Olem stares out into the open expanse of space for the first time ever in his life, with nothing separating himself from space. Immediately in front of you, or technically below you, you can see, as Bina has essentially brought the Awakener onto its side, where the
Yes.
where like the airlock itself is facing towards where the shuttle would be. You can see it beneath you as you're watching. You almost see it cresting over the like bottom of your field of view out of the airlock. You see it coming in just into position, and then Wynn turns to you, Olem, and nods, giving you just sort of a thumbs up, and like
At
comms.
some point over this, all of them down there would hear like "Happy Trails" from like Vina before they come down.
At this point, at this point, Wynn says, "All right, everything is go for jump. From this point on, observe radio silence." And Wynn signals you, Olem. You watch as they all begin making their way just to the edge of the airlock.
Do I understand that I have to be radio silence right now, or it's once they get past out of the airlock?
Pretty much as soon as they get out of the airlock.
Okay, I say, on my mark, and I look down at the. I'm holding on to the bar. I'm imagining like a bar on a bus with my left hand.
Definitely, yeah.
And I just raise my right hand up and have it like I'm looking past them at the ship down below them, and I'm like trying to change my own perception of space for that to feel like down even more than to the side. And then I look Wynn in the eye through the suits and I say, "Go."
Okay. At this point, none of them are actually looking at you because like they're all focused on the drop.
Oh, that's true.
So you
And I just say
yeah.
it.
Okay. So in order to correct me if I'm wrong, you don't actually have any abilities that can help you do this, correct?
Yeah, I'd say that's correct.
Okay, cool. So in order to attempt this, I'm gonna actually say that this is gonna have an initial cost.
Absolutely.
So this is gonna have
that's also awesome.
Yeah, this is gonna have an initial cost of 4 from your intellect pool.
Yipes. Okay. Sure, I got it. May I explain what I'm conceptually trying to do?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. This at least is what's in Olem's head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just right as they jump to pretty significantly increase the gravitational pull specifically between that ship and each of the people.
Okay.
And then as soon as I see them like more or less falling towards it, cut that out so they don't smash against it, but they start to fall and then drift towards it is the idea.
Okay. So, then with that spend, this is going to be an intellect roll, and the difficulty on this one is going to be 5.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
I was 1 over target with all of my abilities that win. It was a 5. Mine was a 5 difficulty, and I brought it down 6 technically. Can that be of any assistance? My steadiness be of any help in this?
I'll say that you can treat Bina's wild success as an asset in this case, because that is pretty much going like it would be so much more difficult if it was like an unsteady kind of keeping pace with them. It would be much more difficult. So I would say that would absolutely affect this.
Does it just kind of look like
Right.
they're just stationary?
Yeah,
Like, is
it
that
does. It absolutely, yeah, definitely.
That's
Like
so
up
cool.
until other than like
in space.
essentially like the only time it looked like anything was moving was when you like maneuvered the final few feet into position, and then it just looked, and then you were basically just locked there. It does, and now it's just perfectly stationary.
Oh yeah, from looking out of the airlock, there's like literally nothing moving.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just
not
a
at all.
star field, and oh, that's so cool. This is good.
Mhm.
This is serious hard sci-fi. All right, let's go.
Oh, I
Okay,
love
great.
This
So
so
an
much.
asset brings it to 4.
Yep.
I think that I just want to just spend 2 effort because I have an effort of 2 now. I
Okay.
took that advancement, bring it down to 2.
Okay.
Does Peach being there at all like as like her just presence, does that help him? And like, does that, I don't know, like,
Probably
I'm
not.
there kind of cheering him on. Does that help in any way?
Do you have any skills in like composure? Because you could use encouragement if you're trained in anything like that. But
I mean, I have encouragement. I don't really think any other ability that I have would really do anything other than the fact that.
no, I'm just saying an ability that you have, you can give someone an asset in with encouragement. So like if you have something with composure, maybe you could pitch that to Lucas as something you could encourage Olem on. But otherwise,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I do not.
Okay. Then it seems like we're at 2. Okay.
It's, yeah.
It's a 6.
didn't you lower it to?
No.
I-
we're
And
yeah.
then one with it was a 5.
It was
Sorry,
difficulty
I don't know what
5,
I
yeah.
thought before.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So
I-
that's 6 or
I'm
better.
happy with, and that's so for me that's a total. That's the spending 2 or initial cost, and then the 2 levels of effort would be 5, but it's brought down to 3 for me because of my edge, which is 2 in intellect. I assume this is intellect.
Yes, it is. So the edge would eat away from the total. From everything.
Right.
So basically, so I haven't actually done the math in my head, so that would
So it's
yeah.
so it's 2 initial cost, 5 for 2 levels of effort, and then so that's 7 minus 2 from
Yep,
the
so it's
edge,
just 5 total.
5 costs.
Okay.
All right, so that's a big.
Math.
And I am
Yeah.
conceptually expending as much effort as I can right now.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing I've ever done in my life, and I reach out and I
Yeah.
try to do it.
It's like this inside the EVA like the helmet, Olem just like a bead of sweat just like goes down like Olem's temples just sort of as you begin exerting this effort. Go ahead and roll.
Man.
Wait, what? There's rolling involved. Okay.
What you got?
16.
All right. So, the first of Wynn's drop team step out of the airlock, just leap forward and just immediately disappear below your like visual your visual range. And then after a moment you see them, they all just jump one after the other, Wynn being the last one. And after a moment you see the first one reappear once again into your field of view, just sort of drifting down directly towards the shuttle. One after the other they do so, and just as like they're coming to a point where you think it's unlikely that they would miss or go, you reach out and you just cut off the tunnel that you've created. This whole time, Olem, as you're reaching out, you can feel that connection. You can feel almost as if it's pulling you as well. For a moment here, you realize as you're doing this, the awareness hits you that you are currently conducting one of the most primal forces in the universe, one of the most fundamental forces. And at the moment, you're not just conducting it. You're not just manipulating it. You're part of it. You stand as an anchor to this field of gravity that you've projected in front of yourself. Standing there, every bit an element of this gravitational system you've created as a planet would be. As you stand there, you watch, looking down, watching these people fall. At the last moment, just seemingly just intuitively, you just cut away, and you watch as they just sort of drift the last little bit down, and one after the other land, each one finding purchase on the shuttle itself.
Does it have any visual effect, Henry, or is it completely?
Gosh, I
invisible?
don't think it does. I
Cool.
don't think there's no like doesn't look like magic. I'm just changing the way gravity works in a space for a time.
I love it.
Up in the cockpit, Bina, you watch as suddenly, like basically like a proximity alert goes off as you glance over for a moment, alarmed, and then realize essentially what is being detected is a sudden gravitational shift right off the starboard side of the ship. As you look, you actually are watching it take shape on your instruments, and it is literally like a cyclone of like gravitational energy connecting the two
Abriel
ships.
up here with us?
Or
did Abriel jump with them?
Abriel's not with them, no.
Okay, so is Abriel up here with me?
Yeah, sure.
I'll kind of be like, while I'm like paddling, I'll take a third hand and just kind of like swipe it up onto a bigger screen to show Abriel.
Yeah, she's looking up, holding in one hand holding the helmet, and the other hand holding her bag. As she looks up at it, she goes, "Oh shit, he actually! I can't believe that worked." Peach, you're watching this all. You're also like watching this through like the little window in the airlock.
Yeah.
Just sort of.
Peach also just wanted to watch.
Yeah. You as you're looking
I'm able
through.
to like I can like compensate, like this isn't affecting the flight at all. Like
The answer is yes, you can, and you did, because there is absolutely there is like you can feel it.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
like,
it's there.
Yeah.
You can feel it, but yeah, you were able to do so. Peach, you're looking through this, having just witnessed this. You watch as Olem lowers his hand and kind of walks towards the edge, like towards the far side, and hits the button, closing the outer airlock. And as the depressurization sequence completes, you see as he turns around, and just kind of your eyes meet for a moment as the pressurization sequence initiates.
That was so fucking cool.
It worked.
They just drifted right across.
Yeah, they did exactly what I wanted them. Exactly what I hoped to happen. Okay, all right.
How did it feel?
Good. Very good. I'll describe. I don't know if I can describe it right now. I got to do this exact same thing again in a couple minutes.
At this point, you hear Alma's voice saying, "Pressurization sequence complete."
I come back in and take my thing off.
All right. So,
Are we picking up other people, or are they on?
Nope,
with
they're
us,
already on
or...
board.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I was like, all right, another trip.
Yep, they're already on board. So at this point, your part of the mission at this point, Caitlin, is to basically like return the ship back to the original like waiting coordinates.
Yes.
So you watch on your sensors as the shuttle continues on its course.
I assume we just like kill it and like just like
Yeah.
as it moves, just like kind of drift off of it until I can like get away quietly.
Yeah, definitely. So you watch as the shuttle just continues off and sort of disappearing out of visual range. Still on sensors, but yeah.
Are there any? Could we see any like flashes or sparks, like chemical or like light weapons?
Yeah, I would
whatever
say like vaguely for a moment you can see sort of like what Bina would recognize as the flash of a cutting torch.
So sick.
Awesome.
And then it's gone.
Neat.
There's a nerve-wracking like 10 minutes or so before you finally you hear voice, like you hear Wynn's voice say, "Mission complete, shuttle's ours. Good luck."
You as well.
Abriel just sort of leans back and just says, "Now we play the waiting game again." All right. So, another half.
Ina's back to buzzing. She's
Yeah.
back. Like as soon as they broke away, it was like hard cut, and she's back to like full movement. Like.
Olem has like a spring in his step. He's trying to not seem overly pleased with himself, but he definitely is. He's like so excited.
Yeah.
I think Peach is also just so excited. I'm so happy. Like she's sitting there, like so happy to see, or standing there, so happy to see Olem, like very happy and confident. Like it just warms her heart.
So.
She's just beaming.
It's another maybe 45 minutes or so before the next sensor blip comes up, and Abriel leans forward and she says, Looks like our friend is here.
All right. Lucas, if I get our craft, if I get Awakener into position, can Alma just hold it?
Yep.
When I fuck off to go jump out of
Yeah,
the ship?
definitely.
Cool. Okay.
Abriel stands up and slings the bag over her shoulder and takes the helmet and puts it on. There's this. Oh, actually, I guess I should probably wait until. Whatever. And she exits. At which point, Bina kind of over your shoulder, watching her leave. You glance over in the co-pilot seat, and Alma's there, just sort of looking out the front, the view screen. So,
Ready to fly?
yeah. I've never done it before, but I know how to. I mean, I know how the ship works.
You'll be a natural. It'd be great. I'll get it set up for you. You just gotta hold it.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Yeah.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. So, once again, I'm gonna have you make a piloting check.
Okay.
Caitlin. Difficulty is the same. Difficulty 5.
Okay.
All previous factors remain.
Okay. Pilots. Sight. Alma.
Planning also. So, like, technically,
Planning.
yeah. But yeah. So basically, once again, no roll
1 over
required.
target.
No roll required as Bina once again perfectly maneuvers the Awakener into position.
Bina rocks.
This is a little bit superpower based, actually. Now this what this check is. 'Cause
Yeah.
Her visual acuity is because of her superpowers. She doesn't know that, but I do, and it's exciting to me.
Her eyes are real good.
At this point, down by the airlock, Mason, you are standing, already suited up and ready. The other drop troops just kind of milling about. They were sort of chattering for a while, but they have fallen silent ever since the announcement came that over the comms that the other shuttle was coming. They're all just sort of sitting around, all of them nervous. It brings back your training days during whenever you were doing jump simulations. It was a similar feeling, the same atmosphere.
Well, right before Mason puts his helmet on, he smeared engine grease on his face to obscure somewhat of his identity, and he kind of just puts the cigarette out in a sorry.
No, I think this is so sick. This visual is so cool.
Yes, good.
And then just like, all right, you ready?
One of the freedom fighters near you looks up and says, and just nods. She's probably maybe in her early 20s as she looks at you and nods. She says, I think so. I've never done this before.
I've only trained for this. I've never done it the real thing myself. So you're in similar company, if that gives you any comfort. I'm really bad at the whole comfort giving thing.
That's okay. It does make me feel a little bit better. Hey, at least this way, if any of us go, we all do, so.
Some of us, the real training starts in the field.
Ain't that the truth? At which point she just sort of takes one more deep breath, just
I know,
helmet on,
the
just
same.
At this point, Bina would be just reaching the hold at this point.
I'll say I wanna while like just before I'm like leaving, I'm gonna turn to Ellen and be like, okay, you got this.
Yeah.
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 You feel it?
Mm-hmm.
Just hold it.
Okay.
I'll be back soon.
As you turn, you actually watch as her eyes just completely they go just sort of completely like purple, almost like you can see the lines of like it looks like the lines of a feed, basically, like you're watching, like you as if you were watching a screen, but there's no data on it. It's just sort of and you watch as she just sort of turns her attention forward,
She'll be like, you know how I compensated for Olem earlier? Do the same thing.
You see just sort of like vague nod as she's no longer like seemingly fully
Yeah.
aware of you. So down in the hold.
And I kind of
Yeah.
I'll pat the back of the seat then and head out.
Yeah.
Running.
Yeah. Bina and Abriel make their way into the hold. And you all step into the airlock. Pressurization sequence, the depressurization sequence begins, and after a moment, it completes. And the outer airlock opens up once again into that expanse of space. The shuttle immediately below, looking perfectly in sync. All right.
Tell us when.
All right, get ready. I'm in the exact same position,
Yep. All the same factors.
all the same factors, and then I say, go. Like that.
I will reduce the initial cost, by the way, as it's not. This is something that you've done already. So, hang
Does
on.
this have anything to do with a perception task, or a task involving sight?
Maybe, but hold on.
Okay, I was sorry.
I just realized I think the math was wrong last time, Henry, because I gave you an initial cost of 4.
You're right. So it would have been a total cost of 7, not
Yes.
5.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but the initial cost this time is 2, so it now would be a total cost of 5 if you're doing the same stuff.
Well, I will say it's not entirely the same because I'm intending to be the last one to jump and then to be in gravity, free fall, whatever, when I turn it off, which won't make it easier, I bet.
I think it's not going to be a factor because it's sort of the same thing as like
Fair.
you're controlling you and this thing. It's harder when you're not in it. You see what I'm saying? Like it's different
Yeah.
when it's when you're not actually in it.
I'm like a conduit of a different sort.
Pretty
in
much.
This kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Right. So yeah.
yeah.
So same. Let's just same exact factors as
Yep.
before.
Which brings us, if I recall, down to a difficulty of 2.
Yes.
Question
Mhm.
though, before that happens, is this a task involving sight where that is relevant? Because I would use encouragement to lower it if you'd let me.
I don't
if
think
not,
so.
No worries.
No.
Okay, cool.
It's sight isn't really a factor here.
Excellent.
Yeah. This is kind of weird. This is touching fundamental forces of the
Yeah,
universe.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
vision means nothing
Yeah.
here.
I might even like be closing my
Closing
eyes.
your eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
once
feeling it.
once I see what the ship is and where it is, yeah. So
Okay.
perfect. There it is.
So,
Difficulty 2. I spent 5.
all right.
Oh, look at my intellect pool. Hey.
Yep. All right. So go ahead and roll.
All right. Let's take a look. 13.
Okay. So once again, Olem, you reach out, feeling yourself like tap into that fundamental force, and you can feel it around you as you reach out and you begin to shape it once again, creating a tunnel between the airlock here and the shuttle below. As you go, Mason, you're the one in the lead of this jump. So,
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yep. All right.
What do I feel from everyone around me? I mean, you guys too, but like specifically the crew we don't know.
it's a lot. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of it is that sort of anticipation, grim determination. You can feel a lot of fear. There.
That's probably a little overwhelming, huh?
Oh yeah, it really is. Even from the people who feel a little bit more put together, you still feel that fear. It's there. It's everywhere. But yeah. So, I am gonna have each of you, except for Olem, make a check here.
Oh
Okay.
no.
This is going to be a might.
What kind
This is
Um,
this is gonna be a might roll.
Oh fuck.
of?
Oh god.
The
Okay.
difficulty is not gonna be that high. It's gonna be a difficulty of 3, but
Ugh, okay.
Okay.
Yikes.
I don't think I was trying to look to see if I had anything, but
Me
that's-
too. I was like, do I have anything in diving
Wait,
through space?
Oh no, dexterity, but that it's not speed based.
Freeman,
so,
isn't Mason trained in jumping?
True.
So, yeah.
That might count.
That's actually a good point. I didn't
Yeah.
think that would actually have an effect.
We
I
get
didn't
an-
think about it though.
Do we get an asset because Olem is conducting gravity on our behalf?
That's why the difficulty is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Makes sense.
What's the difficulty again?
3.
So for me,
3. Okay.
well, who wants to roll first? I guess I will, because I'm in the front, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And I'll use that jump skill I'm trained in
Mm-hmm.
as an asset or whatever. And lower
Yeah,
to,
it's just low. Yeah, just a trained
2?
skill lowers the difficulty to 2. Yeah.
I'll do that. That sounds good to me.
Okay.
So,
Oh, could I go ahead and use? We've been here for a little bit, and I saw this before. Can I use understanding to like study it for an action, and then my difficulty is lowered a step?
Yeah.
Because I watched
Yeah.
Olem do this before.
Yeah, and you watched the previous jump team go. Yeah, I'll allow
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so that's a 2 I don't like to spend, but I have an edge, so
Yeah.
New one.
actually, I have a edge in might, so I might spend some might for just one might.
1 level over. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
that's the. I think that makes the cost 2. Yeah, 2. So it'll cost 2 from your might pool.
It for real can't be speed. I'm so boned.
I mean, we're jumping.
It's Lucas's
I
call,
mean-
but
I don't see how it'd be speed. We're not going fast. We're
it's a
jumping.
dex. Well, speed is dexterity.
It's a little bit in like it's the same reason that I could see it for the same reason that like using a ranged weapon it can be a speed because it's about accuracy in some case. So yeah, I'll allow a speed roll. It could be either one.
Okay.
I'll say it could be either.
This has absolutely nothing to do with sight. Okay, I'm just gonna spend. I'm just gonna spend for this.
Okay.
Yeah, I So, if you spend a level of effort, since it's a might roll, that takes it from your might pool. Is that's
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yep.
If you want to use might, you're allowing us to use speed if we would prefer.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to use speed, you can use speed.
I would definitely prefer to use speed.
My speed and might are the same. They're the same.
Yep.
So
If I take any might damage at all in this, I'm fucking gonna be impaired immediately. So like I don't wanna spend it for my might pool.
So that's how many points from might for a level of effort?
Do you have I assume you don't have an edge in might.
Oh, speed. I have an edge in speed.
Speed. Yeah. So then it's 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The initial cost of spending a level of effort is 3, and then every one thereafter is an additional 2. So and you're
Okay, then I'm gonna put both levels of my effort into that, so I do not have to roll.
okay. So in a
That's
total of
probably a
4
good
from
call.
that. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I still have to roll.
Yes. So go
I brought
ahead.
I brought it down to a 1.
Okay.
So.
Cool. All right. Go ahead
Loki
and
was scared and Peach was scared.
go ahead and
If I-
roll, Freeman and
All the people
Caitlin.
to be lost in space. I think I'll be. Well, we'll see. I'm scared. Oh, I rolled a 1.
Do you have XP?
Yeah, I have XP.
Okay.
You might want to spend some XP
I
to reroll.
Please spend that XP.
Spend XP to reroll.
I could, if you want
I
me
will.
to spend it, I will.
No, I got it. I got it. I'm gonna re-roll this
Okay,
with
go for
with
it.
an XP.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm marking that down. Yeah, I'm really glad that I left myself some extra XP. I really am.
Yep.
Okay, 9.
Okay. So, we'll hold on to that for a sec.
I'm gonna spend both levels of effort that have available to me to take it down to 1.
Okay, 3 or better.
And then pray.
Right.
Ugh. 15!
Okay.
Nice.
All right. So,
No one becomes lost in space forever.
I'm just also afraid to spend for my speed, because what if I got a fucking pilot crazy later?
all right.
It's fine. We're
So, that's what recovery rolls are for.
fine.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
We'll be
fair.
True.
So-
True.
You, Mason, you just sort of take a moment and you sort of kind of remembering your training, and you basically just step off of the airlock. Immediately, surprisingly, you, rather than just sort of drifting forward like you would expect, you come out of the airlock and kind of immediately turn, like basically face down towards the shuttle, and just like fall. You can feel yourself just sort of like moving through space. You can feel as like the like little resistance against you, as there is no resistance in space. As you kind of just feel like yourself. It's a weird weightless feeling as you're just sort of drifting, but it's kind of this weird, bizarre cognitive dissonance, because you feel like you're just sort of drifting weightlessly, but you can see the shuttle rapidly approaching. At a speed that belies the feeling that you have. And suddenly, you see yourself, you see that shuttle, the surface of the shuttle is just closing quickly. Peach, you're right behind the same thing, feeling that same sensation, just watching this all happening. There's just these tense, breathless moments. Bina just a little bit behind, just coming down, watching this all, kind of with a quick glance up back at the ship. You can see it. As behind you can see the forms of the other droppers coming down. Olem, the last one off, as you make your way just sort of to the edge of the airlock. Just imagine it's just like you just demagnetize and just drift.
Yeah.
You just start drifting down, much slower than everybody else. As you are in this, you find, rather than falling with it, you almost feel like you're controlling your own descent with it. The weightless feeling that everybody else is experiencing, you are actually, it's actually true for you, as you are descending very slowly and controlled directly to the shuttle. I am gonna offer you a GM intrusion.
Me specifically?
Yes, you specifically.
Excuse me. Hit me with it.
All right, go ahead and take 1 XP and give somebody else one.
Oh man. Mason, you were the head of the spear. You take the other
yeah.
XP.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you are exiting the airlock, Olem, and beginning to drift, something feels wrong to you. As you kind of look over your shoulder, tearing your eyes away from the many people below you who are drifting down, you glance up and you watch as the Awakener just lilts very suddenly just down towards the shuttle. You like towards you, like to the point where you almost go back into the airlock as it comes down. The very edge of the shuttle just barely taps you in the back, but it's enough. A small tap from a ship the size of the Awakener compared to somebody Olem's size, it's a big deal. Now, while Olem, you're just sort of shoved suddenly downwards towards the shuttle, the tunnel goes with you. As it pushes, you actually see as the shuttle below you, it actually rocks. It tilts away as you yourself, pushed from behind, actually exert force on the top of the shuttle as it tilts very suddenly. And as you're coming down, you watch as Mason lands, Peach lands, Bina lands. 2, 3 of the drop troops land before this happens, and with the last one, there's one person who you watch just go spiraling away into the darkness. With when the shuttle lurched, it moved just enough to watch one person go spiraling off.
Is there time to try to push them in such a way that their momentum will bring them back to the shuttle? Like a little
Anyone
gravity
would've-
nudge?
Anyone could have had a chance to try to grab him or something.
I would say that Mason, being the first one touched down and the first one recovered, probably would see it happening. So Mason, from your perspective, you land and you kind of glance up, watching others land around you, and then suddenly, as you're looking up, you're in the perfect position to watch as the Awakener above you just suddenly lurches towards you. You watch as it immediately gets under control, but you also feel underneath you as the shuttle moves. You feel it shift beneath you as you look down and you look back up, just in time to watch that same woman that you were talking to. You watch as, like, you can see her face, her eyes wide in the helmet, behind the helmet. You watch as she touches down a little too hard, and instead of like, her knee buckles under her instead of landing the way that she should, and instead she skims off the surface of the shuttle just near where you are. You can go ahead and make a roll to try to catch her. Yeah.
I'd love to.
This is going to be a speed roll. The difficulty is going to be 4.
No worries. I'm going to use my dexterity power shift has 2 in there to bring it down to 2, right?
Yep.
And then I'm going to spend a thing from my speed, level of effort,
Okay.
to bring it down to 1.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to roll.
All right, go ahead and roll.
I got a 19.
Oh!
That's a minor effect right there.
Yeah!
Oh!
Oh my god!
There's so many things that could be done right now. Okay, so getting her.
Yeah. So you reach out
Great.
and just immediately, like, fingertips brushing as you reach out, and you just push. You feel like you're not going to be able to catch her, and then suddenly you find it somewhere in yourself. You push your body just a little bit further, and suddenly you are just sort of reaching out, and you move much faster than you could have otherwise.
Does he like extend a little bit more than the average?
Not
I
quite.
mean, the suits probably wouldn't let that
Yeah,
happen anyways.
But Bina, as you're watching, you watch Mason move with. Before, when you've seen him move like this, it's been under relatively normal gravity in a way that is extraordinary, but not outside of the possibility of what somebody could do.
Yeah.
But here, in 0G, it is weird. It looks so weird as he just is suddenly much further than he should have been able to get, clasping onto this woman's forearm as she just sort of extends outward from the shuttle, held only by Mason's arm, just sort of held out as Mason, you begin to pull her back in. You actually hear like the alarm chirping in your helmet, as basically like warning you that there's an incredible amount of stress being put on the mag boots.
My mag boots.
Yeah, on your mag boots. As you kind of reach out and get a hold of her, you go back and click your right heel back down onto the shuttle's surface and begin pulling her back in. If you want to suggest a minor effect, go for it.
Well, have I brought her back? Is she clicked in? Is she magnetized now?
You know what we'll say? We can actually say that the minor effect here is to avoid any further checks for pulling her back in.
Exactly.
And that way
getting her in a safe location where
Yeah.
she is like.
Yeah, so you grabbing her by one arm, you reach up, grab like the shoulder of her suit, and start pulling her in. Her hands are just sort of like, her arms are just sort of like panicked, wildly scrambling at you, trying to like get purchase on whatever she can find. You can see her eyes are still wide, just sort of darting back and forth, clearly panicked. Yeah, you just reach out and just continue pulling her in slowly until finally her feet touch down on the surface of the shuttle, and you can hear, you can see as the magnetic boots just sort of click down, securing her to the surface of the shuttle.
I'm assuming we don't have communication through these helmets.
You do, but currently you're observing radio silence.
Right, exactly. So in the any way that I can, like, just to get her to calm down. Like,
You can talk to her. You can actually put helmets together and talk that way.
You're all right. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, it's good. You can see her. She's
Deep
like,
breaths.
yeah, she's.
Deep breaths.
Can I approach after this? Because if she's freaking out, she's not.
Oh,
gonna
you
calm
can
down
you can
anytime soon.
absolutely feel that panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that intense. I think it probably would choke Bina up a little bit, but she's gonna come up and kind of like put her hands up and like kind of in a "can I touch you" kind of motion.
Yeah.
Like,
She just.
okay. I'm gonna put my hands on her shoulders and I'm gonna use fast talk. She's not hostile towards me. And basically calm. Just
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You watch as she's. She makes eye contact with you. Just. She kind of reaches out. Currently, like, she's got like a death grip on Mason's suit right now, and she reaches out and just kind of puts her hand on your shoulder and gradually lets go.
Yeah.
At this point, Olem is just touching down onto the surface of the shuttle. This whole exchange taking maybe about 5 seconds total. Like, the whole thing happened like so fast. Olem, you are just now touching down on the surface of the shuttle, engaging your mag boots on the surface.
I clunk forward to like with my arms out, trying to look to see if this person is all right that I saw got knocked off.
Yeah, she looks shaken but fine.
Right.
You see one of the resistance fighters kind of like, they're all kind of looking, watching this happen. One of them just sort of reaches out, just sort of signals and points further down. As you all following his gaze, you can actually see where the external hatch is, not too far down.
I'm sure Bina has the tools here.
Yep.
Yeah, she will lead the way.
Okay.
She'll give another pat to that woman and then head that way.
All right. You make your way over to the hatch and just begin. You set down, and you set down the basically like your tools thing, which also magnetizes.
Yeah. She's worked outside shifts.
Yeah.
She does this shit.
You reach in, pull out the cutting torch, and just begin working down the actual hatch. I am not gonna make you roll for this because it is not a difficult thing to do.
Especially if something she's done before. Like,
Yeah.
You can just do it.
While Bina is cutting Peach, you glance up just in time to see the Awakener just sort of drift out of sight and then just disappear into the darkness of space. So, Bina, you make your way through, finally cutting through the exterior of the hatch, finishing up the cut. Two of the strike team take pry bars and stick them in and start pulling, wrenching the hatch doors apart. After a bit of struggle, they get it open, maybe about a gap about maybe 3 feet or so, and the first one just grabs the edge and pulls himself inside. One after the other, you start making your way in. Once everybody is inside, there's the manual like closure of the hatch as he goes in. A maneuver like this requires the use of the cutting torch once again to keep the seal. Once again, Bina goes down, effectively sealing that hatch. Like that hatch is basically useless now. However, it is functional enough to allow a pressure seal. So, now here's where the fun part comes in. I'll leave this one up to you. There are two ways you can proceed from here. The first way is to run the pressurization sequence, which will alert people inside. Or you could try to bypass that and do a manual pressurization.
That's something Bina would know how to do.
Yeah, it's hard though. It requires computer knowledge.
Shit.
What kind of compute? Ooh, would I be able to help?
Maybe?
Is it library science?
It is not library science.
Damn.
Would
Is it
we
so-
have? I assume we would have gotten like schematics of like the ships that we were boarding.
Yeah.
Is that something that like this is total speculation, but like if Olem had gone over schematics beforehand, it seemed like you were reading up on things to try to prep for this. I don't know if that's something you would have done. Is that any like if we looked at this shit beforehand, is it something we could have prepared for?
Well, it's certainly something that you would have known about because it's pretty.
Okay.
It's something that'd be pretty standard. And yeah, like it's something that you would know that would have had to have been done. Like you would knew that at some point you were gonna have to make this choice. So
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, Bina is gonna opt for manual override, but I don't know what you guys want to do.
I think that makes the most sense.
Your bones.
Mhm.
Okay.
If we can do this as quiet as possible, let's do it. And
agree.
we might not have to even hurt anybody.
Yep.
Okay.
True.
All right. So the difficulty on that is going to be 4. The manual override isn't that hard. Like it's literally it is a crank. The hard part is the part that you're rolling for is for basically getting around the
Bypassing it.
getting around the computer.
Okay. Is there like, would I be able to use my mechanic skill here? Like, is there a physical way? that
I'd
she would,
say
like,
that is feasible considering that this
because
is
she does like this.
yeah,
Like,
this is among the systems that you would need to repair. Like this isn't so much like this isn't coding. This is knowing I mean,
just how the ship systems
yeah,
work.
there's a way of
Okay.
getting around it that it's mostly there's a way of doing it where you could code it like where you doing computer stuff and basically making like deactivating the basically running the pressurization sequence as normal but without the acknowledgement to the cockpit.
Okay.
But that's the thing that Bina doesn't know how to do. What Bina does know how to do is how to disconnect that system. Yes,
Yes,
Freeman.
that's what you were gonna
Freeman.
I do have a thing in Decipher. Would that help her at all?
No, that would help with like encryptions and stuff like that. But in this case, that won't help.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
Would this be considered a knowledge, science, or not crafting, a knowledge or science role?
Yeah, I'd say so. It could be.
Okay, because I don't know. I'm not sure if I have a power shift in intelligence, and I know that counts for those things.
Mhm.
Can I use that for encouragement
Yeah.
to give Bina an
Yeah,
asset?
definitely.
Okay, cool.
So mechanic, encouragement.
I think Mason said he was helping too, right?
Are you're assisting?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Okay, so then you got an asset from that too.
Okay. Task that involves sight.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just looking at one screen, being like, I think maybe do it this
She's
this
gotta
one
like
this
she's like
way.
she's like not even like I feel like what she's doing is like moving around this like she's in the systems but she's also like physically disconnecting.
Yeah,
stuff,
no,
I
like
think, isn't
legitimately,
she?
like the panel is out. You have the panel like completely removed from the wall. It's just sort of hanging from wires, and you're just sort of like going in and like.
So that's 5 then.
Okay, well then, in that case, Bina in the no rolling club tonight by herself. So yeah, without effort, you quickly remove and efficiently remove the panel, kind of like handing it off to Mason, who's just kind of holding it there.
This is her zone. Like this
yeah.
is this is what she does.
Yeah, reaching into your toolkit, you pull out one of your tools and start messing around with stuff, cutting wires here and there, reconnecting them into other places, and before long you actually watch. It doesn't look like anything. Everything looks the same as it did before, but Bina looking at it, it should be done.
Cool.
All right, you make your way over
Let's
to
go.
where the manual release is, just removing the panel, like the bulkhead panel, and just sort of grabbing onto the crank and start pulling down on it. This one, unlike the Awakeners, this one is more like what Bina is used to. This one is rough. It requires a little bit of convincing.
She's got like all 4 arms just like pulling on it with like her whole body weight.
And she like lifts up off the ground.
Yeah.
Yep, this one requires some convincing, but eventually you do manage to pull it, to just sort of yank it down.
Bina's very small and not very strong, so she's like probably like when you like pull up on something and like curl your knees up a little bit, she's like using her whole body weight to turn it.
Finally, just sort of yanking it down, it gives, and you see as the doors themselves just spring apart. At which point the resistance fighters with the pry bars come back in and same procedure, wrench them apart. At which point you see on your suit's display, it appears that pressure has normalized and oxygen levels are normal.
Okay, she's just gonna kind of like nod in the direction of the new opening.
All right. You see as you make your way onto this, the resistance fighters start removing their helmets and just sort of dropping them, and removing their weapons from the magnetic holsters.
I take a sec to take a big deep breath in and use my first action recovery roll.
Yes, nice.
Okay.
Can I find like a wall terminal, like right off the bat, like in a hallway somewhere? Nearby
Probably
at all,
not. And the reason for that is because the only reason that the Awakener has that is because there are hollow emitters everywhere on that ship.
That's fair, yeah.
Here,
I just wanted to try to get a manifest. I want to know how many crew members were here.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to find that information from anywhere. There'd be like a centralized information hub somewhere.
It'd be like on the bridge.
Probably, yeah. More than likely.
In the computer base.
A ship configured this way probably doesn't have its own separate like information hub somewhere. So it's all on the bridge.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay. So, the strike team immediately begins sort of fanning out and moving through the corridors, checking doors as they go.
I would like to be up, like with like helping lead it, because I can feel people, and I want to be able to give a heads up for when I can, if there's anyone. And it's not like I don't have a humongous radius or anything, but like I could probably at least feel someone on the other side of a door or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want to help with that.
All right. Yeah. So you make your way up, and as people are going sort of checking doors here and there, most of the rooms are empty, which it makes sense with crews the size that you were expecting that almost all of them would be on the bridge. But checking. Finally, at one point, one of the resistance opens a door, and Bina, as they're going for the door, you can actually feel somebody behind it.
Yeah, she's gonna kind of just like put a hand up, and like let them know that there is someone in there.
He nods and just indicates somebody else, and they sort of move to either side, and a third.
Is it like are these quarters? Is this person sleeping, or is it someone who's like active and working?
You know what? Bina would be pretty. It'd be pretty clear what this was. This is a restroom. Yeah.
She's gonna like just like be like, just wait, like don't do this while this person's in the bathroom.
Yeah, they're just.
She's just gonna hold her hand up and just tell everyone to wait. And she's not talking or anything because they can't fucking hear it. She's just gonna be like.
They're just sort of waiting. They're literally holding like breach positions at the moment, where like on either side, and then one person who's like back with rifle up, like and held ready, and a minute or so, like about a minute or so goes by, and then the door opens.
As it's about to open, she'll be like, okay, and then she'll move forward.
Yeah.
She's gonna...
Immediately one of the two on either side of the door, like you watch a Keldro man sort of step out, glance up and freeze, staring face to face with one of the resistance fighters. He like opens his mouth and turns just in time to catch the butt of a rifle like from the side as he just goes down. And
I was worried for a second. I was like, did we ever discuss no kill? Is that the thing? I'm hoping that was we're gonna not kill someone who's not a threat to us. That was never.
No, but weapons discharge is loud.
Yeah.
So Yeah, you like basically he crumples and doesn't move. He just falls to the floor and just doesn't move.
Can I like search him for communicators, anything like that?
Yeah, no, definitely. You can see that like he's got his terminal on him like most ship's
Okay,
crews
yeah,
would have.
I want to take anything that could be communication tool, weapon, anything off of him.
Okay.
I was gonna say I'll take a weapon off of him if need be.
Yeah, I mean
Or actually,
these aren't soldiers or
I didn't
guards,
think you would even have
but
one. I just like anything that could be used as a weapon. I want off of him.
it is.
My goal here is I want to put him back in there and like use my tool to seal the door shut so he's not gonna be a problem.
Exactly
Yeah,
what I
it
was
is.
thinking too.
It is standard for like anybody doing any kind of supply run where there's cargo of any kind. It is standard procedure for them to carry at least stun weapons, in case of pirates, or anything really.
This.
Just this, yeah. So he does have like a stun gun on him, which Mason would immediately recognize it for what it is. But yeah, Bina sort of searches, and after you finish, the resistance kind of pick him up, shove him back into the room, and the doors close. It's no problem to like seal this in a way that it would require the cutting torch to open, but won't damage the doors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah. That's easy enough to do. And it takes you like 30 seconds. You continue moving on, and by the time you catch up with the rest of the group, they've gathered outside of what is very clearly the door to the cockpit, to the bridge. You watch as from inside you can feel people. Not sure how many, but you can feel them.
Multiple, yeah.
Yeah. And you watch as they make eye contact with each other and just nod and just and suddenly like the bridge door, they open it and just whirl inside. Immediately begin shouting, be like, everybody down, and just sort of weapons pointing. You can see one person like in the middle of standing up in surprise just sort of freeze and just sort of slowly lower themselves back into the chair. They're all told, there's about 6 people on the bridge.
I want to go to a terminal if they're standing down.
Mm-hmm. They seem to be.
Crew
Yeah.
manifest. I want to see how many people are on the ship and if we're missing anyone.
Okay. You quickly pull that
There's
up.
probably an engineer room if there's an engineer somewhere down there. Like if someone else is elsewhere. Like I want to make sure.
Yeah, and in fairness, this isn't where everybody went. Like some of the strike team went aft as well.
Oh, okay.
So like,
okay, cool.
But yeah, you look through and begin pulling that up, and you pull up the crew manifest. It looks like everybody's here.
Okay.
I will say one thing, and that is, Peach, I would like you to make a roll for me. This is going to be an intellect roll, and the difficulty is going to be. So the difficulty is going to be 2.
Okay, what's it related to? Do I know? It's okay if I don't know. I just want to know if I can lower it in any way.
You probably can. This is not going to be any kind of social interaction, so you don't have to worry. Well, yeah, no, this is not going to be a social interaction. So this is... What things do you have that...
Well, I mean, if it's related to, like, sensing people nearby or something like that, I have
Just read through your skill list.
Yeah, like what...
Read through your skill
What is the roll for? Like, what is...
He's just saying read through the skill list and he'll tell you.
Oh, no, we lost
Oh, gosh.
Henry. Hold on.
Oh, no.
Okay, hold on. Let me switch over.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
It's a first.
All right, hold on.
my skill list while we get Henry.
Okay, we're going to pause real quick, everybody. I'm going to go to a break screen. We're going to probably still be on audio, but I'm going to transition over.
Poor Henry.
Okay. There we go. We're back. hopefully Henry can reconnect, and if he does, we will quickly jump over. Looks like Henry lost internet at his place.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm glancing, so we're kind of at the end of our time, so we're going to try to wrap this up quickly so that I don't lose internet, because maybe. Okay, so...
Read your skill list and Lucas will tell you if
Yeah.
something applies.
So skills: pleasant social interactions, resistant to charm, medicine, light weapons. I have a power shift in enthrall, intelligence, awaken dreams, putting people to sleep, and dexterity. Do any of those things help me?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think anything that's going to help you. So,
Okay, well then, I will just. Can I spend for this?
yeah, you can.
Okay. I'll do. I'll put in a level. I'll do a level effort for this.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So now it's just a difficulty 1, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Difficulty 1.
10.
Okay.
Nice.
Peach, you're sort of watching this all, like, kind of one of the last people to come onto the bridge. You're sort of like looking over the scene in front of you, and you watch as one of the crew. You can see an arm like slowly moving to like underneath the console, reaching for something underneath the console. With his eyes are sort of on the resistance, and they haven't quite gotten around to him just yet. They're sort of focused on securing like the captain and the pilot.
I'm gonna use enthrall.
Yes.
And stop them by just like literally just kind of move like putting my hand up and going, hey, don't do that.
Okay. How many?
Like, literally, like just pure like kind of intimidation there.
Okay,
Or
how
maybe,
many-
Maybe actually probably not intimidating, more like a kind of like a hey you don't want to do
Hey,
that.
hey, yeah.
How many power shifts do you have in enthrall again? 2. You have 2 power shifts in enthrall.
Sorry, my audio cut out for a second.
Okay,
Say that
sorry.
one more time.
Do you have 2 power shifts in enthrall?
Enthrall, I have a 1 power shift in enthrall.
1 power shift. Okay. So this will be a difficulty 1 then.
Okay.
Yep.
13.
Okay. So you, as this person is reaching, you speak up. You say, "Hey." He turns and looks at you, and immediately just stops. The arm just going limp, as he's just like staring at you, like eyes glazed over completely. And as you spoke up, as you called out,
You didn't want to do that.
as you called out, "Hey!" One of the resistance like turned immediately. It would not have been fast enough, but he turns and looks and sees this scene in front of him. He like stops and looks between the two of you, and then steps over and like reaches under the console and pulls out a sidearm. This is not a stun gun. As he takes and looks at it,
Don't
and
shoot
just
to kill.
he just shakes his head, and clips it to his magnetic holster and begins like picks the guy up and starts like securing him as well, like up
Yeah,
out
I
of the
thought he
seat.
was gonna pull the gun on him. I was worried.
Yeah, no, like he just sort of picks him up and just
I
starts.
would have enthralled that guy.
Yeah.
No, none of that.
Throw you and then throw you.
Yeah. At this point, one of the resistance, the same woman that nearly went spiraling off into space, she looks up from the console and looks over at all of you, and she says, "We did it. Ship is ours."
Okay. Bina's gonna climb over into the pilot seat.
All right. And as you settle in, and you glance over, she settles into one of the like the co-pilot seat. As you can see her reach up to her communicator and say, "Win? Yeah. Mission accomplished. Ship's ours. Acknowledged." As the two of you look at each other and nod, Bina, you immediately is just sort of like strapping in, just taking the controls and just taking the shuttle.
She's gonna undo the top part of her enviro suit to like roll down to her waist so she can have 4 arms again. Like, I doubt they had Orzai specific enviro suits on that fucking ship. I'm sure there were 2 arms, so she kind of rolls out of it and like shakes out her bottom 2 arms and hands on the controls.
All right.
Super cool.
Take her down.
All right. And basically in this instance it would be it'd be that sort of shot as we close down tonight's episode. It'd be that shot sort of like from the back, from as the shuttle just sort of as Bina takes the controls, and the shot from the back as the shuttle just streaks off into the distance. And that's where we're going to pick up next week.
That went better than expected.
Yeah.
Or just
That's
as well as expected, maybe.
We're all good at things.
Yeah.
And we use those things we're good at optimal opportunities.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, Mason would have propped up that guy back in the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
in the stall, kind of just sitting with that empty bottle of the spray that Mason had at the very first episode, just so it looks like he's.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Funny.
Not that it matters now, but that was his, frame job.
He's
Flawless
literally,
work.
like, locked in the bathroom via laser tool. Like, he's...
Oh gosh.
Poor guy.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that went pretty well.
That was fun.
Oh, my God.
You got really good with those rolls tonight, guys.
What a GM intrusion, by the way. Holy shit, that was
You know what?
so...
What's funny about that is that was like I was for sure that was if there was going to be a GM intrusion, that's what it was, and you brought it up like right after because I was gonna have it happen like right then in the first group, and I was like, it's way more dramatic if it happens in the second group. I'll save it. And then you mentioned it right after that. You're like, okay, so can I compensate for? And I was like, yep. So
I can in fact compensate. Can and I will.
awesome. All right. Well, good work, everybody. Too bad we are not continuing with Henry tonight, but luckily it happened this far into it. So
Yeah, God.
Yeah, that
all right. Well,
after he did all the heavy lifting.
I know. I know.
After he threw us through space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, we're gonna go before we tempt fate any further with the internet. So,
You
Thanks
too,
for
huh?
watching as always.
yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. Don't forget to tune in for Ramblemancy. Freeman, help me out. Do you remember what we were doing?
For Ramblemancy,
Yes,
our
for
topic,
Ramblemancy. Yeah. Did we decide on one?
I don't know.
Okay.
TBA.
I honestly
A topic of some sort.
There
At-
will be a topic.
of some kind at 7 p.m. Pacific.
Yes. Stay tuned to Discord and Twitter and stuff like that, where we'll let you know what's happening on Friday. But in the meantime, have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night.
Bye.